I think Blizzard could do a lot to making the pug rating scene feel a lot better in Classic Anniversary Edition, and it wouldn't require them changing the raids. It would just require them putting in a couple little like ready check type things in the user interface. Here's one that I think would really help. When you're running an SR run, it's really difficult to keep people in the run when anything goes wrong. And a large part of this is because most people aren't actually reserving pieces off the final few bosses. This makes sense because there's just this competitive market of people placing their SRs on things. So a lot of people, they don't want to be the 15th soft reserved on Onslaught Girdle, right? But this also means that all the bosses in the raid have a pretty high probability of having a few people having their SR on them. And so those individuals lose a lot of their incentive to stick around as soon as their boss dies if they don't see that the loot piece that they're after dropped. How could you resolve this? Loot systems like GDKP actually smash this problem to smithereens really easily. The way they do that is that you don't get any gold until you make it to the end of the run. So sure, if you're just a pure buyer, you could leave after you kill Magmadar and you don't get your little striker's mark. But if you're interested in receiving gold at all, hey, GDKP will keep you all the way to the end. However, imagine this. When you're doing a ready check, there's a couple options. Use the raid leader. You could potentially make it so that way there's a ready check that tells people if you hit yes on this check, you need to remain logged into the game for the next X period of time. And you need to have X amount of activity at your keyboard. Otherwise, you're going to receive a temporary ban. And sure, this sounds insane to a lot of people, but every other fucking genre of multiplayer game does it. Like all of them, like every game that's got a system where you queue up and you get put with random people and it's like a team versus a team, like they all have this shit. You fucking queue up, you're a fucking asshole and leave early, bam, you're not allowed to queue for a bit. Guess what? That's what we like to call a temporary ban, right? It's just a little scarier with the context of WoW, I think. Whereas with Counter-Strike, I don't think people really necessarily think of it as a ban because they're not really attached to their ID as a Counter-Strike player in their rank. They might be attached to their items, but those are fucking tradable. So like there's not really a whole lot of allegiance to your account as a Counter-Strike player, whereas there is as a World of Warcraft player. So I think that'll bring around some hesitation from people. Or if you don't like the idea of players being able to ban each other for being fucking scumbags who leave a raid early after saying they can, stay for the whole thing, there's other shit we could put in too. There could be an escrow system. So instead, what happens is everybody, it's like this. You join my SR. I tell you that the escrow amount's going to be 500 gold. Give me a little button that I can press that like gives you the ability to basically confirm to me that you have 500 gold in your bags. And then once we actually get into the raid, I hit a ready check. It says you need to be here for the next whatever period of time and whatever conditions, and then you receive your gold back. You hit yes on the check. The gold gets ripped out of your bags. I don't receive the gold. Blizzard's holding the fucking gold. You bail at the end. I get the gold, or everybody gets the gold. Something. Some kind of system like that, or even Blizzard just lights the gold on fire and nobody gets the gold. That would also be superior because this kind of shit would all of a sudden make it so that way people would not bail on fucking raids unless they have a good reason. And sure, some might be like, well, what if something happens in my life and I gotta bail? Well, how would you feel if your fucking raid leader did that and then you were just locked? You'd be freaking the fuck out. So fuck yourself. Like something happens, you have to go to the hospital or something. Sure, that sucks. It's terrible. Just eat your fucking 1 or 2 week ban. Fucking deal with it. You're fucking 39 other people. Like, I'm sorry. Life happens. Life happens to you too. It's not just everybody else's problem. And there's so many ways Blizzard could put systems like this in the game where you're allowed to make basically smart contracts with other players, so that way you can make sure that people actually follow through on what they're saying they're going to do. I mean, they could even make it like this for guilds. They can make it so that way loot councils could inscribe into their guild in some kind of panel what like this. You go to your guild and you go to fucking guild control or something, and you can just fucking set this is how the loot's going to go. And it just autopilot does that. And there's no human control at that point, and you can just make it so that way people can trust the system instead of trusting individuals, and that would help so much. It would be fucking fantastic. I mean, I wouldn't even mind the idea if Blizzard put something in the game where you were able to say 2SR run, we're putting in a DPS requirement thing where you need to do this percentage of overall damage for this class, this percentage for this class, this percentage for this class, something like that. And the game could quite easily just check that at the end, Like, I mean, they already log to the fucking combat log. It wouldn't be that difficult. You could have it be something where all the individual clients in the game, because, we're running the game on separate clients, we all have a combat log file. It could do some shit like fucking Bitcoin, where it's just like comparing the ledgers of these fucking logs. And so so it can be like, all right, nobody's spoofing the fucking logs, or if people are spoofing it, this is like some crazy combined attack from like 20 people in the fucking raid to try to like dupe one guy and get him banned for a week. And then you could make it so that way people automatically either become ineligible for loot, get kicked out of the raid, or they get some kind of punishment for just being totally fucking useless in raid. And if this was a feature in the game, people would absolutely use it, and you wouldn't have to change shit about the game. But all of a sudden now you can be like, I really like the idea of going to a run where like, we're not going to get 99s, but we're going to be trying to parse kind of a little bit. And so you go in there, and it just basically makes it that way. Like, imagine this, like a good raid comp, like you have 10 warriors. I mean, a really good raid comp, you have a lot more than that. It'd be like, if you're a warrior, you need to do more than 3% of the raid's overall damage to receive a cut. Something like that. Like, that's not asking a whole lot from people for them to pull something like that off if there's 10 warriors. Now, if there's fucking like 20 warriors, it's a little different. But you get me. Things that just make it so players can hold each other responsible would make it so that way pugs that are bad just don't exist. Because the whole reason that there are bad pugs is because there are irresponsible fucking losers who play this game that want to put in zero effort and expect to get loot and get time and attention from people who actually care about the game. Because basically no matter who you are, if you're putting together guilds or pug raids, you're a highly invested player. And if the way that you approach the game, and so you're not one of these people, if you're some guy who you get to 60 over the course of 3 months, and it's not like everyone who does this is an asshole. It's not like all the assholes do this, but like you're some guy, you take like 3 months to get to 60, you play the game for 2 hours a week other than when you're in some pug raid, and you don't really have any friends in the game. It's so easy for you to just be a piece of shit. It's so easy because you're totally going to get away with it, and if you're a nice guy, it's never going to come back to you. But these individuals that are highly incentivized to be scummy fucking pieces of shit, they're gonna lie to you too. Like, if you've ever ran a pug before, if you ask people like, do you know the fights, you're gonna have every person's gonna tell you yes. If you ever ran a dungeon group before, you're gonna fucking know how it is. Like, people are not gonna tell you they don't know what's fucking going on. They're gonna be like, yes sir, I fucking know everything. And that's a flag though. If somebody fucking calls you sir, like, don't add them to the group because that means they don't speak English. But what would be the problems of making it so players could hold themselves and hold others more responsible? I think that'd be so fucking good. Like, this is a thing that guilds naturally do. There's automatically some level of responsibility because people care about their social status and like with the way they're viewed by peers, and you could be treated differently over time if you're a shitty guildie or a shitty raider. And then we don't even have to worry about the whole GDKP problem. Or, I mean, they could put in something into the game that's similar to GDKP where there's an automated bidding system, so that way there's not people cheating, and you can go to runs that like it's like you set the loot thing like this. Instead of it being free for all, it could be like fake GDKP, and then you receive points, and if you go to somebody else's fake GDKP, you're allowed to bid those points. Now, I'm sure there'd be some like weird ways to try to game that, and it'd be like weird to figure out how you're gonna fix the problem of how are we going to compensate the raid organizers, because if you don't compensate the raid organizers, a system like that probably won't work really well. But there's just so many options to actually approach these problems and make it so that way players have a better time interacting with each other, but without actually getting into really murky waters. Like, it's very difficult to think, how could we design a raid in a way where people want to stick around to the end? Like, that's fucking complicated. How are we going to make a raid fun? How are we going to make classes fun? All that shit's hard. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that people would not leave the dungeon early if they could lose their character, right? Or people would not leave the dungeon early if it cost them gold, because gold cost them tons of time doing things that they probably don't like doing, right? Like, I mean, this is how the real world works, you know? There's a reason, like, when you get pulled over by a cop, they almost always give you a ticket and they don't just shake their fucking finger at you. It's because if you actually fucking punish people, it changes their behavior. So yeah, I want Blizzard to bring some fucking, I guess, some crazy Nazi Germany features like paper police shit into the game, so that way we can smoke the lazy fucks that try to ruin the raid scene. I mean, or they could just put GDKP back in. But either way, I hope Blizzard tries to take this on, especially before TBC, because when TBC comes out, man, it's so easy to be a casual raider unless all the raids are not worth being in. Catch you later, guys. Thanks for listening.